in Parliament which now is opposed to the CP TPP, which sounds a lot and looks a lot like the TPP that only a short time ago a huge number of people were opposed to and a huge amount of politicians were very concerned about and upset about. So it's just us now. And actually we're really proud to represent the concerns of New Zealanders who care about their sovereignty. And we've got a trade spokesperson named Golriz Garaman. Hands up if you've seen or heard of Golriz. Golriz is sensational, and she's been putting our case forward very strongly in the House. She delivered a great speech.
Hello everyone, my name's Greg Full Moon. Greg Zheshneveski is my surname. And like Graham, I've been active in opposition to the TPP and bad trade for 4.5 years or so. I started out in Motueka as part of a small environment group. You guys might know some of the characters in the renewables over in Motueka. As Matt's identified, and in reading out Golriz's speech from Parliament on Wednesday, we have a fairly good understanding of what the implications are of the TPP. And it is great that the Green Party is maintaining their principled stand in opposition to the TPP, unlike others. In respect to the others, there's something called the Steve Mahari effect, or principle. And that basically states, it doesn't matter what we said in opposition, we're now in the government. Right, so understand what that means. And it also is a very important thing when you think about the 1 million people in New Zealand that don't vote. Right? The Labor and New Zealand First position on the TPP is, if you like, almost justification for those people not voting. Like, why vote if we're being lied to? All right? So if we want integrity in the democratic system, then we need to be holding government and parties to account about sticking to what they're saying. Right? It's very important. Now, in the TPP going forward, we've got two things. We've got one, opposition to that, and we've also got an ongoing project about what does trade policy look like into the future. Because we're not just dealing with the TPP, we're dealing with the RCEP agreement, which is the Regional Comprehensive and Economic Partnership, which focuses on China and India with the ASEAN nations plus Australia and New Zealand. We've got the Tppa agreement, which is for all the things that aren't just trade stuff that you can drop on your foot, but services. New Zealand wants to increase educational services, that is, get foreigners to come over here and learn in our universities or export services into those other countries. All of those sorts of things, medical procedures, will be tied up in Tppa agreement. It will also limit what the government can do in order to regulate our financial economy. So if you thought 2008, the great financial crisis, was bad, think about it where it's even more deregulated. Right? Because we're going to have future cliffs where we're going to fall off again and again as the rich buggers keep crashing the economy.
We keep paying them to do it.
Only you might. I don't pay very much for anything. So what do we do about the TPP, and what do we do about future trade? Now, we've gone through the process in the democracy. We've done a number of things, like different parts of New Zealand have done a number of things. So it was Auckland Council that passed the TPP policy solution, which then got transmitted here to Nelson, then Tasman, and went to 12 councils around New Zealand. In those councils' territories, they represented 60% of the New Zealand population, right? And their position was, we want good trade policy. The TPP policy solution was, if you like, a standard to measure trade agreements against. Okay? That's hasn't worked, though it has moved the government in respect to what they're prepared to negotiate. It was Jacinda, soon after the election and when the government was formed, that said ISDS is a dog. Right? So as long as it's in the agreement, it's a dog. Right? Nothing's made ISDS less of a dog. They have limited the ability of corporations to be able to sue the government directly over government contracts. Todd McClay, the ex-Trade Minister, in the parliamentary debate, the same one that Matt read out Golriz's speech from on Wednesday, he congratulated the government on taking away the government liability in that area. So that's very interesting. They're not wedded to ISDS. They congratulated the government on getting rid of that. Okay, so there seems to be a groundswell that ISDS really is a dog. We need to keep pushing against that. Now we've got a new initiative which is a parliamentary petition, and you can find that on www.don'tdoit.co.nz. So go there and sign it, please. That is going to be delivered to the government in 2 tranches. One on the 8th of March at the similar rally to this one in Wellington on the 8th of March. And we understand that Golriz, the Green MP, is going to receive that and is likely to be the sponsoring MP when that goes to the Parliament. Okay, so that's a good thing too.
Okay, can you tell me why you're here and you're stuck in the mud with these, in the concrete with these gumboots?
I'm stuck in the concrete at the moment because I think that represents where we'll be as a nation if we sign on to and ratify this free trade agreement. I want to live in a country that is free to pass laws that are in the interests of its population. And my particular focus is climate change. And I think that we're reaching a point where we're going to have to take very large-scale action on that issue, including legislation. And this agreement will lock us into a foreign corporate-controlled straitjacket. We won't be able to pass the laws or even consider the laws that we need to make to deal with climate change. I have other interests, like as a former doctor, I'm interested in public health, and we already know that free trade agreements have a freezing effect on public health actions. So that matters to me also. So those are the things that I'm most concerned about. They're not the only concerns, but they're the ones, they're my foci.
Thanks very much. Well, mate, you come out on this nice day and stick your feet in concrete.
Well, I'm standing here because I thought that we'd voted in a progressive government that had the interests of the people in this country at its core, and not the interests of global conglomerates who have the interests of their pockets in their hearts. And that's not what I voted for, and I'm not happy to stand for that.